I just got an invitation through the mail.
Your presence requested this evening. It's formal. Top hat, white tie, and tails.
Nothing now could take the wind out of my sails.
Because I'm invited to step out this evening in top hat, white tie, and tails.
Oh, I'm
Putting on my top hat, tying up my white tie,
brushing off my tails.
I'm duding up my shirt front, putting in the shirt studs,
Polishing my nails. I'm stepping out, my dear, to breathe an atmosphere that simply reeks with class. And I trust that you'll excuse my dust when I step on the gas. Or I'll be there,
putting down my top hat, mussing up my white tie,
dancing in my tail.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, beloved viewers. Welcome to the first official meeting of the Top Hat Club. Here at the Top Hat Club, we'll be doing live streams discussing different topics. It is an elite club, I'm afraid, gentlemen only, and you must possess a topper to join. Hello, thank you for tuning in. Felix Smith, the world's greatest gentleman. A good friend of mine is Felix. Yes, as I was saying, it's an elite club. You've got to dress your best. Now and again, throughout the year, we do hold a ladies' night, where we will invite ladies on the stream. But until those nights, it is strictly gentlemen, and we discuss things in a gentlemanly manner. Anyone is welcome to come and join the Top Hat Club. As I said, you must own a top hat, and you must have a bit of decorum, for we are gentlemen. Now I've got some prospective members coming in later on. There is a group on X that I've been talking to people in. We got some good people in tonight. Not just any ladies. Elite gents have standards. Well, that is true. If we do have a ladies' night, then the ladies must dress modestly and act like ladies. For it is a gentleman's club. There will be different topics every week relating to the society. Only the best, says Felix Smith. Indeed. Only the best, sir. We want to try and raise the standards here a little bit. Because some people on their live streams, they just let any old riff-raff in, don't they? Any old riff-raff at all. But I want to change it up a little bit. We're going for the more distinguished gents. Speaking of which, tonight we've got the first fellow hatters joining the stream. If they're ready. Looks like one of them's got their their camera off. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you appreciate the effort I've made. I thought I'd look very extra smart for you tonight. As does someone else by the looks of it. These two coming in now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have fellow hatter Quinlan and fellow hatter Def Fab. How are you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Good, how are you?
Hello.
What a positively super evening.
What beautiful hats you have on.
Thank
You
you.
look smashing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's hard to get the headphones on though.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not very economic, is it? Maybe. Does it work better for you with headphones on then?
I'll need to adjust it. But for next time. Maybe put a hole through my hat or something.
I'll have to do the same thing.
I've got a wee monocle as well, but it's hard to wear. It's like too big. It just squashes my eye. I don't know.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm liking it. Well done, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And this is going to be, as I was saying, this is going to be an elite live stream, only the best on this live stream. And we're going to be talking about many different topics over the episodes. on this episode, I wanted to just introduce you to the club a little bit, everyone who's watching. Some of you may be familiar with my two guests. Some of you may not. If you are not, they are very gentlemen. They are very good gentlemen and friends of mine. Now, what do you fellows know about the top hat?
Nothing.
Yeah, not a lot, to be honest. Other than they're chic, they're hip, they're the new thing.
Was that the ones that had lead lining and made people go mad?
Well, I've got a little video for you here to update your knowledge on the history of the top hat. This gentleman is going to tell you his thoughts.
Doing it for a long time. I can't completely explain why, but they are a part of history. If you can see a hat in a photograph, you can make a pretty good guess about when that photograph was taken. Except for some hats, which stayed in style for such a long time that you just can't tell, including one that you might have thought had gone out of style, but it's still a larger part of culture than you might realize. And if you're watching this video on January 15th, the day that it was released, it just might be this hat's birthday, allegedly. The story goes that Mr. John Hetherington, one of London's haberdashers, wore a silk hat described as a tall structure having a shiny luster and calculated to frighten timid people on the streets of London, January 15, 1797. People were so entranced by the sight that began to follow Hetherington until the street was crowded with a howling mob. An account explains that Hetherington was arraigned before the Lord Mayor on a charge of breaching the peace and inciting a riot. The high headwear was so horrifying that the officers of the Crown stated that several women fainted at the unusual sight, while children screamed, dogs yelped, and the young son of Cordwainer Thomas, who was returning from a chandler's shop, was thrown down by the crowd that was collected and had his right arm broken. In his defense, Hetherington argued that he had not violated any law of the kingdom, but was merely exercising a right to appear in a headdress of his own making. I think we can agree that that is perhaps the most epic story of introducing a hat ever. Nobody, to my knowledge, fainted at the first sight of a fez or a beret. It is also, almost certainly, fake. The story first appeared in the London Evening News in 1897. Extensive research has failed to find either a haberdasher named John Hetherington nor a news story mentioning him prior to a century after the event was supposed to have happened. Even more damning, a firm called Dunnage and Larkin had patented the silk hat in 1794, 3 years ahead of the supposed riot. You can still find the Hetherington riot story repeated in various places on the web, but the website The Man in the Hat notes it is an early example of fake news propagated by lazy editors who couldn't be bothered to check their facts. In fact, the hat likely came to England from France, where paintings by French artist Charles Vernet in the 1790s showed the hats being worn by Les Incroyables, or the Incredibles, a subculture of aristocratic French dandies that thrived during the period called the Directorate, the First French Republic. If French dandies are less fun than screaming children and barking dogs, note that while the hat may not have originally caused women to faint, the top hat was thought to be a major cause of erethism, or mercury poisoning, that was a common ailment of 19th century hatters, who used mercuric nitrate to stiffen the felt in hats, thus leading to the term mad as a hatter, and explaining why perhaps the most famous Mad Hatter, the Hatter in Lewis Carroll's 1865 classic Alice in Wonderland, is often illustrated wearing a top hat, although the character's hat is never actually described in Carroll's book. So in the disputed history of the top hat, you may, so to speak, choose your own poison, a French dandy, a riot, or a Mad Hatter. In any case, the style began to gain popularity at the end of the 18th century, when it was usually called a silk hat. The name top hat didn't come into style until late in the 19th century. And if you didn't realize that it was that old, it is the hat that come in to replace the tricorns and bicorns of the 18th century. The popularity of the hat showed notably when British Home Secretary Sir Robert Peel created the London Municipal Police in 1829. Their first uniform included a top hat. The National Emergency Services Museum in Sheffield noted, when the Metropolitan Police was founded in 1829, there was a huge amount of suspicion from the general public about the new force patrolling their streets. To counter the public's distrust, the force's uniforms were designed to look deliberately civilian rather than military. They featured a blue tailcoat, albeit one with a high collar to prevent garroting, white or blue trousers, and the tall stovepipe hat that was popular among upper-class men at the time. In addition to giving the impression that these peelers, as they were called, were gentlemen, the hats were reinforced enough to protect the officer from a blow, and even so much so that an officer could stand on top of his hat to see over a fence. However, the tall hat had its drawbacks, as the museum notes. In time, though, the stovepipe hat proved to be impractical. Chasing down criminals was made much harder for a constable if he had to run wearing his hat. They were so warm in summer that ventilation holes had to be cut into the top to keep officers cool. The top hats would eventually be replaced by the iconic custodian helmet. And the hats weren't just used by police. In the 19th century, they were commonly worn by volunteer firemen, usually in a stiffened shellac version that was both stylish and practical. That then became part of the fashion of the famous New York Bowery Street Boys, a New York street gang that largely consisted of working-class men who were members of the volunteer fire department. The top hat fit their exaggerated sense of style. Historian Tyler Anbender explained in his 2001 book, 5 Points. A black silk hat, smoothly brushed, staying precisely upon the top of his head. He has a particular swing, not exactly a swagger to his walk, but a swing which nobody but a Bowery boy can imitate. While often portrayed as violent, the Bowery Boys were actually simply a subculture of a class with rising wealth. British traveler George Foster wrote in 1850, "Who are the boys and gals of New York? Sometimes a stout clerk at a jobbing house, oftener a junior partner at a wholesale grocery, still more frequently a respectable young butcher with big arms and broad shoulders, in a blue coat with a silk hat and a crepe wound about its base, who is known familiarly as Bowery Boy." The hat not only represented style, but class and distinction. And, well, height. For example, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, one of the most prolific and renowned engineers of his time, was frequently seen in his tall stovepipe hat. The engineer who built the Great Western Railway, the first purpose-built transatlantic steamship, the Great Western, London's Paddington Station, and much more. According to Brunel's SS Great Britain Museum, it is very probable that Brunel wanted to project a certain image in order to be viewed as a successful engineer. And the stovepipe hat, popular at the time, certainly helped him to do that. And of course, it is now indelibly linked with his image as the foremost engineer of the Victorian period. But the hat also offered another advantage to the great engineer. Standing just over 5 feet tall, his trademark 8-inch stovepipe hat would have gone some way in making him look more imposing to his clients and contractors. The British Institution of Civil Engineers explains, Brunel was known for being visibly self-conscious about his height, would often wear very tall top hats to increase his height.
You know, an interesting fact, the city that we're going to in the summer, Death Fab, Brunel, that guy there, that gentleman, apparently his ghost haunts it.
Oh, Christ.
Underneath the Bristol Suspension Bridge, there's like a forest. There's a woodland, and people reckon that they've seen the ghost of that guy, Isambard Brunel.
Did you know of a statue pulled in recently? Is that not him?
Possibly. No, I think that was someone else.
It's weird though that he thinks that that's going to make him look taller. What do people think his head's really like long or something? Or the bird's
The situation
like,
was different for a famous man across the pond. Stephen Carter wrote in Smithsonian Magazine in 2013, Abraham Lincoln was our tallest president, and 6'4", he would stand out even today, and he certainly towered over the men and women of his era. The top hat he habitually wore in public made him taller still. You couldn't miss him in a crowd. The 16th president wore the top hat in war and peace, on the stump and in Washington, on occasions formal and informal. He wore it the night that he was assassinated. Why did he choose the top hat? Perhaps it simply was the style for a man of his era. Author Debbie Henderson wrote in her 2000 book, The Top Hat, An Illustrated History, it had become the irrepressible symbol of prestige and authority. And the National Emergency Services Museum writes that even as late as 1897, one newspaper reported that other men may or may not wear the tall hat. But the man who has the quality of gentle manners and conforms to the custom of his class seldom fails to wear it in the specified hours and places. No man can be morally loose with the tall hat set squarely upon his head. But Carter wonders, nowadays we have trouble envisioning Lincoln without his top hat, but how he began wearing it remains unclear. Carter speculates that Lincoln may have started wearing the hat as a gimmick, especially since he was known for wearing a rather worn one. An affectation, Carter writes, perhaps intended to suit his frontier image. Well, the purpose may have been to help Lincoln.
As Americans, What are your opinions on Abraham Lincoln? Just out of interest.
Oh, most people
As
just
an
love him.
American, Quinlan. So, Patrick.
Most people just love him. Everybody loves him.
Does that include yourself?
I mean, yeah, there's some things I didn't like that he did, like reducing states' rights. But yeah,
Did he not want to get all the slaves and free them, but then put them all on an island somewhere?
I don't know about putting him on an island, but he was the president during the Civil War.
I remember watching a documentary about
He
10
done it-
years ago, and they wanted to. They said that
Apparently,
he actually wanted to put them on an island.
I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure about an island.
He'd done a lot to free the slaves, apparently, but
Aye, but then they wanted to get rid of them. People don't talk about it. But
Oh yeah, he didn't really like them all that much. That's for
aye,
sure.
they wanted to take them, free them, but then put them somewhere else.
Yeah, Lincoln based.
Lincoln was based. A giant of a man. He was pretty tall, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
Can stand out in a crowd, that could be a problem. On one occasion, an assassin apparently identified him riding by his hat, and he shot Lincoln's stovepipe off his head. And while observing the 1864 Battle of Fort Stevens, Lincoln had to be warned to get down, as his hat made him too obvious to the Confederates. The iconic look stayed with the president to the end. Carter notes, on the night Lincoln died, he dressed for the theater in a silk top hat, size 7 1/8, from the Washington hatmaker J.Y. Davis. When Lincoln was shot, the hat was on the floor beside his chair. But the hat represented more than the president.
I bet that's why he
It represented
died.
America itself, its
You know, if he was
allegorical
wearing the hat,
embodiment.
He would
Uncle
have
Sam.
survived.
Uncle Sam's history is complex. At the end of the 18th century, he represented not the nation, but the U.S. government. A popular, although disputed, story is that he was based on a meat packer named Samuel Wilson, who provided rations during the War of 1812, labeled SWUS, which some soldiers claim meant Sam Wilson, Uncle Sam.
Sam
Some
Wilson.
cartoons of the 19th century depicted Uncle Sam,
Okay.
with characteristic goatee, wearing a top hat, particularly those by Thomas Nast, who also created the iconic image of Santa Claus. But Uncle Sam still had many looks until his appearance was standardized with the famous World War I recruitment poster created by artist James Montgomery Flagg in 1917. Exactly why is he wearing a top hat? Perhaps because of the previously mentioned connection to moral standing, or maybe, as with Lincoln, simply to stand out in a crowd. But the top hat, a standard of formal wear, didn't just represent America, obviously. The hat was common in diplomacy, worn by leaders the world around, by king and emperors, prime ministers and presidents, even chancellors. In 2019, the Times of Israel notes Hitler's top hat sold for more than $55,000 at a controversial auction of Nazi memorabilia in Germany. The top has become an indelible part of culture, perhaps most embodied by the eponymous 1935 Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movie, Top Hat, but also in an iconic androgynous look by Marlene Dietrich's character in the 1930 film Morocco, and a common prop for the voiceless Harpo Marx. A 1920 drawing by illustrator Ray Irving of a character that would come to be known as Eustace Tilley would become forever linked to the magazine The New Yorker, while the association with wealth and the upper class helped to create the image of Scrooge McDuck, the world's richest duck, and the very symbol of wealth acquisition, rich Uncle Milburn Pennybags, mascot of the board game Monopoly. Red and white version is The Hat in Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, and Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash is famous for his top hat, saying in an interview in 2010, you can pull it down, pull your hair down over your face, and just sort of hide behind that. The hat has also entered popular culture because of its connections to magicians, where it has not only become a part of the symbolic costume of the magician, but the common place from which a rabbit is removed. The cartoon character Bullwinkle is often depicted attempting to pull a rabbit out of a hat, only to pull out a dangerous animal and exclaim, "Wrong hat." A top hat with some magic left also animated Frosty the Snowman. But one legend needs to be put to rest. There's a common misconception that the fashion of wearing of men's hats in the U.S. was killed by President John F. Kennedy when the young and cool new chief executive showed up without a hat to his 1961 inauguration, a break with tradition that put an end to haberdashery in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Fact-checking site Snopes buries that legend with a simple fact. JFK, in fact, wore a top hat all day to his 1961 inauguration, as did outgoing President Eisenhower. While Kennedy did deliver his speech hatless, his top hat was in the chair behind him.
One as well.
The more likely driver was driving, as tall hats were simply impractical in automobiles. Top hats might not be worn as commonly as they once were, but they're still worn at formal weddings. They're the men's hat of choice at the Kentucky Derby and the Royal Ascot. And while a hat is not necessarily required for black tie formal, a top hat is generally considered essential for the more formal white tie formal. This beautiful vintage top hat made by the Cavanaugh Company of New York is of a special kind. Patented in 1812, the opera hat fits under your seat at the theater.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Functionality and style.
That's brilliant.
The hallmarks of a great hat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's splendid. I need one of those.
Mine
There's a
kind
lot
of
of
do that.
history behind the top hat.
I learn something new every day. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I thought
It's a
people
very-
kept stuff in them. I thought that's why they were so tall. I thought at one point, I don't know, you kept your hankies in there or something.
I'm sure people did. I'm sure some people. I think Abraham Lincoln was known to keep documents in his top hat.
Or like some kind of like smelly stuff, like herbs and shit to make you smell nice or something. I don't know.
I'm sure people kept all sorts in there: drugs,
Mm.
tobacco, money.
Small field mice.
Yeah.
Midgets. Baby midgets.
Now, thank you for tuning in, everyone. We've got 18 viewers at the moment.
Hello.
Hello to you who just tuned in. Welcome to the Top Hat Club, an elite live stream where you must have a top hat to take part. Now, it sounds harsh, but I wanted to make a live stream that was a cut above the rest. It takes some effort to come on here, so it means you really want to. If you want to come on,
It's only a tenner on Amazon for top hat. Although they sent me a bowler hat first. I had to send it.
bowlers are all right. They're not quite a top hat though.
Well, I ordered a top hat and they sent me a bowler set.
You look a bit Clockwork Orange, I reckon. with
Ooh,
that
that's
on.
a nice bowler, though.
I'm more like a, what do you call him? Stanley or whatever you call him. What do you call him? The fat guy and the thin guy?
The pork pie hats.
What do you call it? What do you call it?
Leonardo.
Oh, no, yeah. Dan Laurel. Like. Oh no.
And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, throughout the shows we will be discussing different topics. Me and the rest of the panel know some of the topics that we're going to be discussing throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
The next season we will be discussing owls and their symbology, and that whether that mean religiously, magically, tribally. We'll be discussing the whole thing, the whole subject.
Fantasy. There ain't a lot of fantasy in there.
Fantasy, yeah, anything.
Oh, my headphones are gone.
And as we present little facts, now and again you will progress. You will progress through the club and gain ranks and different responsibilities with those ranks.
Mm.
As Mr. Self-Destruct mentioned, Wodenshot. Wodenshot is the club's mascot and deity. The Owl of Knowledge. And he will be respected within the Top Hat Club. May his name never be smeared. One should always keep a bowler, says Felix Smith. And what events would you wear a bowler to? I suppose it's more like an everyday sort of formal hat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a street hat, you know,
You just wear
when
it
you
to
want to
the pub.
impress the ladies.
I was looking for my other headphones there. I thought I had different ones. Oof.
What is that on your head, Death Fab?
It's a all seeing eye.
The all seeing eye.
Mm.
No, I was wondering.
An extra eyeball.
You got a
For the
green video.
monocle.
You can't really see it though because of the light.
They say you're looking like an undertaker, Patrick.
I'll take it. I'll undertake it.
Here at the Grove, Bohemian Grove. We're a bit better than them.
I was about to say.
I'm feeling a bit rough tonight, man. I just watched that Substance about 10 minutes ago, or half an hour ago, and it was fucking horrible.
You're looking a bit pale.
Well, I've not been feeling well. I went to the dentist and then I think done something to my throat or something, caught some flu or something. But then I watched The Substance tonight and it was so disgusting. It was like made me feel sick. Really good film though, but wow, it was disgusting. You seen The Substance?
What film
Anybody?
was that?
The Substance.
The Substance.
That new one with Demi Moore and that the hot girl for Once Upon a Time in LA.
And what's the general plot of it?
Oh, a woman's trying to turn back time with her looks. She's running it. She's getting older and she's getting obsolete, and so she takes the substance. And it's like a body horror thing, man. It's like a Cronenberg film, but like 10 times worse.
Have to check that out.
It's like body horror. Adrenochrome type thing, but it's got a good message. You treat yourself well when you're younger, and when you're older, don't be too hard on yourself. Quite a simple, good message.
You know, when a film makes you sick,
Oh, it made me sick, man.
it's just well done. It's well
I know.
directed.
It was so good. It was so good. And that lassie that's in it, the Margaret Qualley or something her name is, she's in that Quentin Tarantino film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or whatever it's called. She's such a babe, but in this, it was so disgusting that I couldn't really enjoy it much. Have you not seen the videos of her dancing? She's doing an aerobics dance with a pink tutu on, or whatever the hell you call it.
I've not seen that.
God, guys, you guys know watch the internet. You guys know on this interwebs.
I watched The Holdovers last night. Have you guys ever heard of that movie?
Is that the remake one? Is that?
No, that's the old one with Paul Giamatti.
No.
Oh, really good movie.
Is that no? Was that one about when they're trying to get home for holidays or something?
Yeah.
Is that not a remake? Like a 50s film or something?
Oh.
Or did they remake it?
I watched one with Paul Giamatti, so maybe that is the remake. Let me look it up.
I don't know. I just remember it came out when it came out, and it was like, one of these ones that was based on something for.
Wait, what?
No. Am I thinking a different one? Somebody tell me.
No, I think you're right. Hold on.
Is it a new film?
I think it is. I think it's a 2023 film, the one that I saw.
Oh, no, I'm thinking a different one then.
But I could have sworn that it was filmed in like the 70s. This is crazy.
I'm thinking a different one then. Maybe it's got a similar name.
Huh.
Where? Oh, we got Dennis Rodriguez has bought a membership. He's gifted a membership. Thank you, Dennis. Another great gentleman.
Wow. That blows my mind. Wow.
There's a film that sounds like that same name. I don't know. I thought it was about people trying to get home at Christmas time or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, that is what the holdovers is about.
Is it?
Yeah. It's but I could have sworn to you that it was made in the 70s, but it was made in 2023. That's crazy. If you watch that movie without knowing, I bet you it's the same thing.
I remember that one. I remember the trailer. It looked good.
I'm going to continue to top up your knowledge of top hats now with a little bit more history from another top hat connoisseur.
Can never have too much history.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of The Hat Historian. For this inaugural edition, I thought that I would talk about one of the more distinctive and recognizable hats to still, albeit very occasionally, be seen around today.
What was that, Patrick? Did someone say something?
No, me, no.
I thought I couldn't hear him, but I think it's just my headphones. Continue, sorry.
The top hat. Worn by presidents, royalty, tycoons of industry, gentlemen thieves, gay mascots, national symbols, and even my friend back there is Scrooge McDuck. The top hat has long been a symbol of power, refinement, authority, and wealth. And while it is not worn as much today as it once was, it remains a potent indicator that the person under it is somebody important and, or, wealthy. The origins of the top hat are somewhat murky. According to legend, it was invented by an English haberdasher named John Hetherington in 1797. And when he wore it in public in London, it caused such a stir that he was arrested. Reportedly, he had appeared on the public highway wearing upon his head what he called a silk hat, which was shiny in luster and calculated to frighten timid people. And the officers of the Crown stated that several women fainted at the unusual sight, while children screamed and dogs yelped. It was a different time. Sadly, though amusing to modern readers, it appears that this account is apocryphal, and that if Hetherington was indeed an early wearer of the top hat, he was not the first, and certainly not its inventor. According to fashion historians, it is likelier that the hat is descended from a previous form of headwear, the capitaine, better known to Americans as the pilgrim hat, famous for having been worn by the Plymouth Pilgrims of Thanksgiving lore. These tall tapering hats were popular in Europe in the 17th century, and seem to be a credible ancestor because of the similarities in their respective shapes, though the exact origin of the top hat is sadly unknown.
Also a bit like a
The
cowboy
capitaine
hat.
was supplanted as the dress hat of choice.
Pardon, that?
Looks a bit like a cowboy hat, that as well, like a mixture between a cowboy hat and a top hat.
Yeah. Yeah, pilgrim hats were kind of like that, weren't they? Like,
Yeah.
you
You can see where they've divided off, you know.
like gold miners and stuff as well. They wore similar hats.
Why
like
so tall, though? Why? You think they would start small, you know, like a wee small hat, then a tall hat, then... But it seems like they just went tall straight away.
Yeah.
For most of the
With the pilgrims, it was probably to show their presence to make them look more intimidating,
know.
I should imagine.
I want to be sneaky,
18th
you
century
know,
by the tricorn,
a wee hat on.
and only in the 1790s did top hats begin to appear. So the date in the legend is at least close, if a bit tardive. Illustrations, such as this one, show men wearing flared top hats in 1796, and the first silk topper is credited to hatter George Dunnage in 1793. Note that none of these seem to have caused riots, showing that genteel people of the late 18th century were probably made of stronger stuff than they are sometimes credited for. In its early iterations, the top hat was often bell-shaped, with a swooping brim and a crown that became wider towards the top, in direct contrast to its truncated cone ancestors. Examples of what that might look like can still be seen on representations of characters such as John Bull or John Walker, who are modeled on gentlemen of the time. It rapidly caught on with civilians after the turn of the 19th century, with everyone from gentlemen to workers wearing some form of it. The air of authority it gave also made it popular amongst the early metropolitan police, whose hats were said to be reinforced to allow the constable to stand on it and peer or climb over obstacles such as walls. Other hats were usually made of beaver felt or silk for the wealthy, wool felt for the cheaper ones. Gradually, by the 1850s, it became taller and more cylindrical, reaching heights of up to 20 centimeters, or about 8 inches, turning into the stovepipe hat seen here on engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel and his colleagues. Most famously, this type of hat was also worn by President Abraham Lincoln, who it is said liked to use the voluminous interior to store speeches, letters, or notes. With a hat becoming a staple of gentlemen's wear and de rigueur at social functions, while simultaneously becoming taller and more cumbersome, a problem emerged. At events such as theater plays or operas, a gentleman was expected to wear a top hat to the event, but could of course not keep it on during the performance, as it would block the view of people behind him, and cloakrooms quickly ran out of space to accommodate them. A solution was found in the form of, I've got one here somewhere, where
That collapsible one.
this, the collapsible top hat. The collapsible hat, also known as an opera hat because that's where it was famously worn, was invented in the 1840s by French hatter Antoine Gibus, whose name is used for that hat in French, and is often made of satin lined with a spring system, making a distinctive pop sound when released. This allowed for men to store it easily under their seats during performances, or for easier packing when traveling. Probably the heyday for the formal top hat was the late 19th century. By then, its shape had settled into a very gently flared shape with a slightly swooping brim, and its height had descended back to a more reasonable level, closer to 15 or 16 centimeters, about 6 inches. It was an ubiquitous element of a gentleman's wardrobe, and was essential at any event that had even the slightest degree of formality. This continued in the early part of the 20th century until the time of World War I. By then, however, softer, lower-crowned hats had begun to supersede it for common daytime wear. The appearance of vehicles such as automobiles made it impractical to wear such a tall hat inside them, and they began to be replaced with bowlers and early fedoras, though it should be noted that for a long time, London taxicabs were supposed to comfortably accommodate a man wearing a top hat.
Oh, that's
Nonetheless, it continued well into the interwar period for more formal occasions where tailcoats or tuxedos were worn.
Why,
It was famously worn in many movies.
that's why the old London taxis are so
Aye.
tall.
Yeah. That's why we've got double deckers as well. Double decker buses.
All to accommodate men with top hats. That's how important we are, gentlemen.
By the legend of dance, Fred Astaire, who even starred in a movie named after the item in 1935. Its slow decline could not be fully stopped, however, and by World War II, it was no longer the common sight that it had been just a generation earlier, only being encountered in state events, diplomatic functions, and the weddings of the upper class. The famous photo of the Japanese delegation to sign the Instrument of Surrender ending the war shows diplomats in morning dress wearing top hats, but gradually, even these ceremonial occasions ditched the topper. US presidents continued to wear one for their inauguration until President Kennedy, at which point the tradition was discontinued. Still, despite having become a rarity, this most formal of hats has not completely disappeared and can still be found in...
That's why they got rid of Kennedy.
Yeah,
Should have been wearing a top hat as well.
Kennedy wasn't a gentleman. He had no
He should have been
style.
wearing it. Bulletproof. That's what's happened to all your presidents. Don't wear a top hat and you get your head blown off.
Exactly.
Exactly.
in select context to this day. Today, one is likeliest to encounter the top hat in its purported country of origin, England. It is required, for example, at the Royal Ascot horse race, where a daytime grey hat is sometimes substituted for the black one, as well as other events involving those keepers of traditional formality, the British royal family, who are often seen in one at state occasions or at very formal weddings. I have often said that if I ever get married, I intend to wear one. A variant of it is also worn in Scandinavian schools for formal occasions by people who hold a doctorate. Less formally, it has also been worn as a fashion accessory by famous musicians like Slash or T-Pain, and is often seen on people who enjoy the steampunk aesthetic. As we covered before, it is also a handy indicator of wealth and authority in comic books or caricatures, with cartoon mayors often being seen sporting one. And of course, one of its most famous uses, where it can still be seen, though it has become a bit of a stereotype now and so is not as common in real life, is by magicians who traditionally pull a rabbit out of it. This can be attributed to magicians dressing in the same style as the audience in the 1890s when these stage shows became popular. And as we mentioned before, all gentlemen attending would be dressed in top hats. It is also convenient in that it is voluminous enough to contain the rabbit, cleverly snuck in by sleight of hand, rigid enough to not show movement, and its flat top meant that it can be placed upside down on the table without tipping over. So the top hat has had a long history and has been a potent symbol throughout its existence. While no longer as popular as it once was, it nonetheless endures, indicating formality, power, and wealth. It is one of the most recognizable hats of our time, and will hopefully continue in its little niche for years to come. So I hope you found this interesting, and will join me again in another video for another hat.
Well, there you go. What
Yep.
an interesting fellow.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're learning about the top hat, gentlemen.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah, terribly fascinating.
It's a very interesting
Really good.
hat.
No, it's just baseball caps.
Yeah.
All those clothes showing off all those different things, and now it's just like one T-shirt with Nike on it.
It's always been worn by people in power. It's a symbol of status. Do you dress do you have to wear a bow tie often, Pat?
Oh no. Nope.
Is that mainly for your videos when you do your singing?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't usually wear a bow tie. This is one I got from my niece for Christmas.
Is it tied? Tied though, eh? It's no.
See, I always have to wear
Okay.
one in my job because I'm a secret agent like James Bond, and I've got to dress smart.
Yeah. You can't be walking around with a regular tie if you're trying to.
You'd be dead inconspicuous.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Top Hat Club. If you've only just tuned in, very dapper, says Felix Smith. Pee Wee Herb. What's that? Pee Wee
Hemorrhoid.
Herb.
Ooh.
That's not very gentlemanly. We'll have less of that, thank you.
Because people found out he was gay recently and they didn't know for some reason.
Oh,
Is that why that is?
it's pretty
He also
obvious.
spelled
isn't it?
hemorrhoid
To
wrong.
be fair, not being mean.
Is that the American way of spelling it? Hemorrhoid?
No, that's not the right way. Shame. Thank you, Carbon. Thank you.
What do I sing?
Johnny, how tall is your hat there? What was that? 12 inches?
2 seconds. My hat is about, I'd say, about 12 inches, I'd say. 10 to 12 inches.
I got a
Or
ruler
12
here.
centimeters. Like a 12 centimeter ruler.
Hold on.
30 centimeters. I'll get it mixed up.
Oh, I'm only at 5.5.
What
Well, I don't think
inches?
anybody's surprised about that.
What is it in centimeters?
In centimeters. It's oh shit. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. How shameful of me.
Language.
14.5 centimeters.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah. Well, I feel a little intimidated by yours. Your hat kind of scares me, honestly.
I'm the Grand High Hatter. It's a very noble hat. But you're up there. You're up there. You're not tiny.
Yeah. And, they say it's not the size of the hat that matters. It's how you
It's
wear
a
it.
beautiful hat. It's very well made. Your one. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a nice lining and everything.
Yeah, it's that pearlescent lining in there.
Was that from a proper top hat company?
I cannot disclose that information. It would be uncouth.
Yous have got fancy ones.
Mm-hmm. And the brim there too, and a little.
Well,
bow.
you can tell a lot about a gentleman by his hat.
How much is a tenner for Amazon?
It's top secret, Carbon says.
This one wasn't expensive, Def Fab. I just looked on eBay.
No. It looks good. I forgot I was making a cup of tea earlier. Just turned the heating off as well. I'm roasting in here.
And I'll remind the audience as well, if anyone out there does want to join in on the streams and you manage to get yourselves a top hat, you're welcome. Come on in and we'll assess you. And if you're fit to join the club, you might get a membership.
I'm gonna get a shirt for next time. I've not got a shirt. I've not got a white shirt.
You would do well to dress a little bit more smart.
Yeah, I've got a jacket, but
whilst attending the Top Hat Club, it has been noted.
I've got a suit. I've got a suit jacket, but I've not got a shirt.
It's all right. I'm allowing because it's the first club meeting. I'm allowing it. But I do.
I thought I would be over
in
it.
the future. We've got how hats are made now, gentlemen. Bowler hats and top hats. This is a bit more knowledge for you. You're learning things here. Random knowledge about the top hat. If someone ever questions you, you'll just know it. You'll be like, yeah, I know that.
Good. That's good.
Top hats and bowler hats both originated in England. The top hat emerged in the late 1700s as a daring new style, radically higher than the flat three-cornered hat men wore at the time. Then the bowler was invented around 1850 as a lower alternative to the top hat. Today, even women wear bowlers. Top hats remain by and large a masculine fashion statement, reserved for formal occasions, although magicians are still known to use them to produce rabbits. At the hat factory, workers spray a fine mist of water on hoods, pre-cut hat forms made of 100% wool felt. After the moisture penetrates overnight, they steam them for about 2 minutes. The moisture and heat deactivate a chemical stiffener in the felt, making the material malleable. Then they place the hood in an aluminum top hat mold, which applies heat and pressure simultaneously. They place a string in a groove along the perimeter and pull. This rolls back the edge of the felt to form a rim. Then they trim off the excess felt. After about 90 seconds of molding at approximately 230 degrees Fahrenheit, they remove the string and open her up. The top hat is now dry and fully shaped. However, the felt is still malleable, so to reactivate the stiffener and lock in the shape, they set the hat aside for about 30 seconds to cool. To make a bowler hat, the process up to that point is identical, but with a bowler-shaped mold. For both hat styles, it takes 2 sets of hands to pull the hood taut over the bottom part of the mold to avoid creating pleats or creases. There's a separate mold not just for each hat style, but for each size of each style. After the bowler comes off the mold and cools, they give it a second, more precise trimming. Both styles are finished the same way. First, a seamstress takes a wide ribbon, folds it over the edge of the hat, and sews it down on both sides, encasing the edge. Another seamstress uses a gold leaf stamping machine to apply the traditional British milliner's crest and Made in England to the hat's lining. The lining fabric is a silk satin blend. She sews the stamped top piece to the side piece. The machine automatically pleats at regular intervals, so the lining will lie flat against the hat's crown. Bowler hats are more rigid than top hats, so they require an extra application of stiffener inside the crown. Once the stiffener dries thoroughly, which takes the better part of a day, the hat is ready to receive its elegant lining. They attach it with hot glue, which dries almost instantly. Next, they cut a strip of leather to the hat size and sew the ends together with a decorative zigzag stitch. The leather has been specially treated to prevent mildew buildup resulting from perspiration. They sew this leather band to the inside of the hat at the base of the crown, covering the edge of the lining. Not only does this produce a neat and classy finish, the leather band also makes the hat more comfortable to wear by cushioning the forehead. Now it's time to finish the outside of the hat. First, they hot glue a cotton ribbon around the base of the crown. Next, they glue on a matching bow. The grand finale is a small silk satin bow on the interior leather band. Then below that, the manufacturer's label. A few taps with the sticky side of adhesive tape easily removes lint, dust, and wayward strands of hot glue. These elegant toppers and bowlers are the product of several experienced, skilled craftspeople. Hats off to them.
Excellent.
Pretty good.
It takes a lot of skill to make a hat.
Yeah. A lot of gluing though. I thought it'd be a bit more. I thought they actually tied the bows and stuff in the real ones.
Yeah. I'm sure they did in the old days
Aye.
when they were first around. Nowadays it's probably out of convenience, I should imagine. Patrick is a bird master as well, you know, Death Fab. Patrick, he's a master of birds.
Oh.
He's got birds. He's got like trained birds that attack people.
Oh, stop it.
Parrots.
They're really vicious and nasty.
And out of focus as well.
They've got names like killer names, really evil names.
Ted Bundy and stuff like that.
Sorry.
Ted Birdie. What kind of birds you got? What kind of birds are they, Johnny?
Did you catch any of that, Patrick?
No, my mic, or my headphones. I'm wearing different headphones.
I was telling Death Fab you've got an army of evil birds and they've all got evil names and they attack people.
You better watch out, you guys, because I'm taking full advantage of this top hat. You understand? Look, you come at me, you can't try to attack me. I say, attack!
That's really good. What kind of birds are it?
Budgergars from Australia. Got 3 budgergars. That's terrible. Budgies. Oh my gosh.
No.
When you had it under your hat then, was it trying to dig at your head to get out? Was it like
She was
panicking?
just prancing around. She was trying to find a way to get out. She doesn't like being in the dark, you know.
Yeah. Bit of what you've been
How do you
told.
deal with the tweeting?
Huh?
How do you get on with the tweeting all the time? In the morning and stuff like that?
Most of the time it's okay, but there's some times where they make this noise that's like and it's like just stop.
Felix Smith
I
says
don't
you're
know.
training them to steal for you.
Used to have a couple of budgies when I was younger.
Can you say okay?
Well, my dad did. He got them for a tip when he was at work.
Uh-huh.
He was a van driver, and someone gave him 2 budgies as a tip.
They're nice. You can train them
And
to be really smart.
So I got one, and my sister got one, and we named them. And then one time I came back from school, and my mum was like, "Oh, your budgie's dead," and I was like, "How? What happened?" And then turned out my sister's one had pecked my one to death.
Oh my gosh.
Good God.
But then he lived on for a while, quite a long time after that.
Jeez.
But my mum was like, "Oh, hold on, you know, your budgie's dead," and I was like, "Fucking noisy wee shite, man." It used to wake me up in the morning all the time. The 2 of them used to wake me up in the morning, like fucking 4 or 5 in the morning. Crazy.
Mr. Death Fab, we must ask you to be a little more conservative with your language, sir.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I keep forgetting. There's no a scabcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Do you want to say hello to the Hat Club? No. Okay.
I must say, Patrick, I'm used to it. I mean, Death Fab is Scottish. They haven't got the same decorum as the rest of Britain. They've got a bit more less manners.
It's hard not to say cunt all the time.
Shocking. I've got one more video for us, gentlemen. It's another man talking about top hats. The hat of the modern man. World History 101. I've not watched this one, so he might be a complete nutter. But we'll watch him anyway. Let's give him
this
some
guy
air
looks
time.
like a right wobbler, doesn't he?
Oh, I was going to...
Yeah.
Oh, we
Looks
must...
out into the crowd of businessmen. All of them, industrialists, capitalists, inventors. He smiled to himself. A sea of top hats thrusting out of the crowd into the sky, like a row of smokestacks against the skyline. Was there a better image for this industrial age? Hello guys, welcome back to the Landship Scorpius channel. I'm your host, Lieutenant Nathaniel Flint, and today we're going to be discussing the top hat. The top hat is a symbol of the industrial age and a staple among steampunks. Some even call it the first modern hat. It swept the European world by storm. It was a symbol of the European power for many years. And you can still spot it in use today. So let's get into what makes this hat so special as we talk about its history and some fun facts about it today. The first hatter in England who is given credit for the creation of the top hat as we know it today was back in 1793. The top hat began to replace what was called the sugarloaf hat around the turn of the century and began to sweep the European scene as a very stylish hat amongst dandies, and other very fashionable gentlemen. It came out of favor in about the mid to late 20th century. A lot of hat styles were sweeping the world at that point, in different areas of the world. The top hat was just coming out of favor. However, you can still argue that it's still in use today. Many nations, and especially in European nations, still use the top hat as a form of formal dress, as well as a must-have for many ceremonial dress uniforms. A top hat, as you might see, is a very simplistic sort of hat. It's got a round crown and a very tall crown, where it kind of gets its nicknames and several different names. It's got mostly a short brim. Some of them have a little bit wider brim, and some of them have a very short, almost non-existent brim. But for the most part, they have this kind of mid-level short brim with a little bit of rounding towards the sides, and sometimes they're just rounded up all around. Nowadays, you can almost always find them in a type of wool or hard mixed felt. Back when they were first invented, they were actually used beaver fur, which gave way to the beaver hat. But with a brim, it's a little bit more of a top hat. That ran out of style around the decline of the beaver industry, and no one's quite sure if they stopped using beaver fur because there was a decline in the beaver hunting industry and beaver populations, or if the beaver populations and everything declined around the same time that they stopped using the beaver hats. There are many different nicknames for the top hat. There are the stovepipe hat. They call them toppers, the chimney hats. There's many different forms of nicknames. A lot of these came into their own, became names of styles of top hat, which we will cover on this channel a little bit later on. Now on to some interesting facts. One of the most famous top hat wearers, and definitely in the United States, is one President Abraham Lincoln. He had a very tall version of the top hat around the era where top hats were a little bit getting more ridiculous. They wanted to make them bigger, taller, fancier as a way of dress. He was known as having and popularizing a very tall version of the top hat. It is said that he used to keep important documents and letters inside of his hat so that he always had them close at hand, or you could use them as references. The top hat towards the, let's say, the mid-20th century also became extremely popular with magicians. The reason for this is, given its size and its tall-like nature, it gave an air of formality to magicians, but it also developed a new type of trick called the hat trick. As many people know, it's, pull a rabbit out of a hat. You could hide cards and other things there, false bottoms, things of that nature. It became extremely popular in the magician community. And with that, it kind of went along with the whole stereotypical look of the magician and survives even today as a must-have for some very stereotypical magicians. My two top hats that I own are two separate styles of top hat. I've got one that's a little bit shorter, and then I have my own little Abraham Lincoln tall hat that's a little bit taller and bigger. I personally bought mine at nethats.com. That's a wonderful online store for buying a variety of more formal or sometimes informal hats. It is fantastic quality. They're part of the Shannon Phillips collection. Personally, and they fit rather nicely. I might need ones that are a little bit bigger than these because they tend to press in on my head a little bit, but they are a fantastic quality. They've lasted me many years, and that's just personally where I got mine. You can find top hats nowadays in a variety of locations, in a variety of styles. I know that Gentleman's Emporium has a variety of top hats in some styles and colors, as well as in different materials. Leather top hats.
I just shut him off a minute. We've got a membership gifted from Bob Rogers. Thank you,
Awesome.
Bob.
Thanks, Barb.
What a lady.
Thank you.
have grown with the rise of steampunk. Just in general, top hats kind of came back into a subcultured style with steampunk and some other subcultures bringing them back into popularity. And with that, that's all we have time for today with the top hat. I hope you guys enjoy.
That's all you have time for. What are you gonna do, brother? You're gonna go out like? You got some big plans?
He was all right. He's quite nice.
I guess. I agree with Sambo Gogo though that he's kind of. Where's his shirt and bow tie? You know.
I've not got a shirt though. I feel bad. I've not got a shirt. I can't slag him off. Is it true that when you see in food and stuff when it's got vanilla extract, natural vanilla extract, it's from the arse of a beaver? That it's not actually vanilla. That it's from a gland. It's from the gland of a beaver's butt. So if you ever have anything with natural vanilla extract, it's not from. That's how they call it natural because it's from an animal. Is that true?
I have no idea. I certainly hope not.
It was like about 5 years ago everybody found out, and then I don't know. And another question, is there anything like in the past, you know, with the big shoes they used to wear, what do they call them, pimple nickels or whatever, everyone seems to be like just make it bigger. Is there anything like that these days that you wear that just you have to just make it bigger and it makes it more do you know what I mean? More it's to show how rich you are and stuff. Is there anything that we still do?
Wearing those massive sunglasses that are like giant. I think that's like one of them.
These are the sunglasses. Aye, they like the sunglasses. They were saying it with the hat, and then you had those. What were the shoes called that people used to wear when they were wearing? What do you call them? The dandies. They used to have the big pointy shoes.
Winkle pickers.
Winkle pickers. That's it.
Winkle pickers.
It just seems like everyone had to be bigger and longer and just make it massive. So
People
I guess
generally
sunglasses
like bigger and longer, but
yeah. Is there anything big trainers? What do you call them? Kanye West trainers or something like that?
I don't think so. I mean, there's those absolutely atrocious. Have you seen these things? You know how they started with the Crocs, those rubber shoes?
Yeah.
But now these Crocs have evolved to be like they have like these versions of them that look like they're made up of like balls. So they look like bulbous, and they're just the most shameful things. I don't know why people would go out in public wearing them, but people do it, and they wear socks with them too. Just gross. Yeah, well, they're worse than that. That's like a sandal. You know, that's acceptable. But the ones I'm talking here, let me see if I can get a picture of them.
They're a bit dirty, but I just use them as slippers.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see here.
I've got
somebody tell me about the vanilla.
A young lady now talking about vanilla.
Aye, somebody in the chat tell me if I'm right.
Less of that. Less of the beaver vanilla. This is a gentlemanly show. Need I remind you, Death Fab?
I'm thinking more a kind of scientific. You know, I'm thinking more scientific and to be more learned.
Well, maybe we can discuss that on a different topic on one of the other shows. Meanwhile, I've got a lady that looks like she'd be just your type, and she's going to be talking about the top hat.
See any collapsible top hat, how it collapses and how the mechanism works? If not, stay with me. My name is Katarzyna Andres. I sew for more than 10 years, and for 7 years I'm a reenactor and costumer. My real passion lies with historical clothing and sewing techniques, with special attention for menswear and tailoring.
With her, I think.
Today I want to show you a few things about collapsible top hats. I own 2 of them in my collection. I will show you how the collapsible top hat works. First of all, the short note about the history. Collapsible top hats were used in the second half of 19th and the beginning of 20th century, and they were used during some evening events. Men were wearing the hats to go somewhere, for example, to the opera house or to the theater, but those top hats were collapsible not without a reason. Under the seats, there was a place to put such top hat so that it shouldn't be left.
Overlord in the chat says we need hotter women in this club. May I remind you that women are not welcome in this club
Mm-hmm.
on an average meeting, but we do have ladies' nights where we invite women in.
Ladies' night's going to be fun.
So if you've tuned in for women, then you're in the wrong place. But we will have a ladies' night occasionally, where I'll invite a few women in. It will be civilized.
I'll be on my best behaviour at that point.
That's mental. Oh, good. Oh.
Where is she from?
Sounds like
the cloakroom.
Eastern European.
it sounds like a Russian accent to me.
Those
Yeah.
top hats
Possibly like, or like Scandinavian maybe, Swedish or Dutch.
were worn to similar tailcoats as this one. This is the one for my Marlon Dietrich style, but it's based on and it is sewn from the men's pattern and using tailoring techniques. So it looks really much alike. Of course, to that kind of outfit, there were.
I just like to say I didn't mean any offence to any women that are watching the show. Barb Rogers is a legend. She's a very nice woman. But,
What is that writing in Jack?
Obviously, it's a gentleman's club, but it's a live stream, so you're welcome to watch. But I mean to take part, to converse.
Also its trousers and proper shirt and all the additional stuff like black shoes and white tie or black tie. And now let's go to the top hats. In my collection I have 2 of them. This one is from Exposition Universal 1900 and the mechanism in this one still works and it's in quite good condition, so let's leave it for now. I will show you the mechanism in the second one.
The mechanism.
Nice accent.
This does not work properly, so it is a little. Here we have this lining which is destroyed, and in this lining here we have a hole, and here we have this mechanism. Yeah, this is visible here. I need to catch it. Yeah, and this is the mechanism. This mechanism works now still, but it's not connected to one of the part to this part here. It's not connected properly to the top hat, so there is a little problem with this, how this works. This mechanism, yeah, you can still see that it works, and this top hat would work properly if we connect this, but it's not the case. Now we can see how it looks like.
Just fix it. Jeez, oh.
Yeah,
Cause me anxiety here. Right, we've seen it. Fix it. Show us how to fix it.
Yes, I have the better one here. And I will
If
show
I
you in
explained
a
earlier.
moment how it collapses and uncollapses. Of course, when they were new, you could just throw it and it would work. And it would uncollapse. But for now, we do not want to do this
Wee bit of WD-40.
because the silk on it, it's it's created from silk here, and this is the silk everywhere. Here, even this gross grain tape is silk tape. So let's do it slowly, here like that. Yeah, and here it is. It's uncollapsed now. You can see the inside. And let's collapse it again. Yeah, my hand is not.
It's amazing how it doesn't crease.
It looks a lot softer than I thought. No.
Okay, so maybe one more time, but from the distance. Yeah.
Oh, you dirty girl.
And when you are collapsing it back, then you need to be careful. From the inside, I can touch and I can check. I will feel where those mechanisms are, and there is 4 of them here on the sides and on the back and front, and it's 4, 2 of the sides and 1 on the back and 1 on the front. Oh, back and front. So there is 4 of those mechanisms, which I showed you before. And when I collapse it back, I need to push all of that 4 mechanisms. So it's going at the same time, because if not, it will not collapse. This the head, the top of the head, and the brim, they are stiffened with some hard paper or something like that. So if you don't do this at the same time, these mechanisms will not synchronize, and it does not have really much place and really much space to move when not synchronized. So the last time, done, up, and the last time to down, synchronized. Yeah, and this is the top hat.
Interesting.
She was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But a bit tense though. It was a bit like give me anxiety there. You know, like
It looks like Polish up there for the language of her video.
Yeah, I think she was a bit scared. Well, next time on the show, we're going to be doing the owl topic, owls and their symbology. And I'd like to hear a little bit. It'd be good if you could research a little bit each and maybe find out something interesting about it, and we'll present it to our viewers. JJ Trudeau writes, hell.
What's up, JJ? How you doing, man?
Hello. I might make a wee video or something. Just a wee quick video.
Yeah, the more the better. It all goes towards your progression.
Oh, okay. I might
throughout the club. I'm taking marks.
Oh, we get points in. Oh shit! I've been swearing and stuff.
Yeah, you're way behind there, Death Fan.
You have.
I'm going to do loads of homework. I'm going to do loads of homework.
Johnny sees all. Taking notes.
Video.
Thank you for making an effort, gentlemen, and thank you for coming on. Thank you everyone who's watched. We will hopefully have some new members over the time. soon. And we have some very interesting topics for you. Hill Woden shot.
Hail Woden.
Hail
shot.
Woden shot.
Remember me, just keep me in your memory. I'll never forget the day we met, for the sake of all anxiety. Though we must part, there'll be no change of heart through all the years to be. Oh, Wiedersehen, we'll meet again. So please remember me.